Hello everyone, I've got a crazy video to share with you today. This is a deep dive into the mysterious drone sightings across the United States and in other countries from late 2024 to early 2025. With that being said, let's get right into it. The 2024 United States drone sightings, also referred to as the New Jersey drone sightings, were a series of reports involving large, unidentified drones observed at night across multiple regions of the United States from November to December 2024. The phenomenon originated in New Jersey before spreading to neighboring states like New York and Maryland, and eventually across the northeastern United States and other parts of the country. These sightings, often occurring over residential areas and critical infrastructure, prompted investigations by local, state, and federal authorities. Notable incidents included reports of drones over the military bases Bacadney Arsenal and Naval Weapons Station Earl in New Jersey. Some sightings, including one resulting in a delayed medical evacuation and another reported by Coast Guardsmen, turned out to be planes approaching airports. Still others were debunked as the constellation Orion or the planet Venus.
For weeks, people across New Jersey and nearby states have reported seeing drone-like objects flying low in the night sky. And it keeps happening. For perspective, more than 1.7 million drones are registered for commercial and recreational use in this country. CBS's Allie Bauman is in Seaside Heights, New Jersey, with what residents are now demanding. Allie, good evening.
Good evening, Jarek. And as more and more reports of these drones come pouring in, some lawmakers here in New Jersey met again today to discuss law enforcement's capabilities to monitor drones.
What is that?
Thousands of reported drone sightings.
I saw about 10 drones in total, literally around the apartment complex.
Igniting a nationwide mystery.
We need more answers. We deserve more answers, because this is the world we live in now.
But the worries of today.
The Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliated stations present Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the air in The War of the Worlds.
Are starting to sound a lot like the worries of yesterday.
The object itself doesn't look very much like a meteor, at least not the meteors I've seen.
A fictional CBS radio broadcast by Orson Welles set off similar panic across parts of New York and New Jersey in 1938.
Let me calm those nerves. We have not seen anything unusual. We have not seen any unusual activity.
Now, security agencies are faced with a modern challenge, explaining why clusters of drones have been reported flying at night, at least over 7 states. So within the past month, how many drone sightings have been reported to your office?
Well, in Monmouth County, we've seen over 100.
So about 100 sightings reported. How does that compare to like this time last year?
I think in the same month time frame, there were 0. You're going to have to be able to...
Sheriff Sean Golden is one in a growing group of local leaders now calling for a limited state of emergency to address an alarming increase in sightings.
We're going to see an increasingly crowded skies. We need to change some federal laws to keep up with that ever-growing and rapidly growing technology.
Well, Sheriff Golden says the size of some of these drones led him to believe that these are not your average hobbyists, and a federal response, he says, could include calling in the Air National Guard to monitor any potential threats. Jareka?
Allie Bauman for us tonight. Thank you.
In response to the sightings, government officials call for increased transparency and resources for investigations. The Federal Aviation Administration implemented temporary flight restrictions over sensitive areas in New York and New Jersey. Overflights of certain U.S. military bases led officials to request expanded authority to counter drones. Still, the Pentagon noted that drone flyovers are common and typically not malicious, and experts like Jamie Jacobs suggested the incidents were likely the result of careless actors. Investigations by civilian and military agencies and independent experts concluded that the reported sightings largely consisted of authorized drones and misidentified manned aircraft, celestial bodies, and other routine aerial objects. Netizens also attributed the sightings to widespread confirmation bias and mass hysteria, drawing parallels to similar episodes in American history. Alternative explanations such as military operations received limited support. In response to increasing unauthorized drone activity near airports, the FAA initiated the Pathfinder program in 2016 to develop detection technology. Prior reports of unidentified drone sightings in the U.S. include a notable series over Colorado and Nebraska in late 2019 and early 2020. Federal authorities have acknowledged these and other incidents both domestically and internationally.
There is a growing investigation into a mystery that is unfolding in the skies over northeastern Colorado. People have reported seeing massive drones flying over several counties on the eastern plains. So far, no one knows where they're coming from. Michael Abeda traveled to the town of Raymer in Weld County, and Michael, residents there told you that they see those drones every day.
Karen, we've been flooded with emails and calls from people who say they've seen these drones flying at night, low in a grid pattern. And I talked to one woman today who said curiosity about what these might be has overtaken the area.
It's just odd. It kind of reminds me of War of the Worlds.
Briggsdale, Colorado is rural, but this small community in the northeast of the state is where Michelle Wyckoff calls home. She owns the liquor store in town, but lately she's seen visitors she's never seen before. Drones.
They're everywhere, and they're coming from all different directions.
She's not the only one. Since mid-December, residents of northeastern Colorado and Nebraska have been reporting drone sightings every night. So far, they seem to be harmless, but they have people on edge.
They're stopping and hovering, and they turn on a real bright light. It almost looks like a spotlight, and they hover there for 10 minutes or so, and then the lights go out, they disappear.
Michelle says one came so close to her home, she could hear it.
Yeah, it sounded like fans. It was like a fan going over your house.
There have been plenty of theories about what they could be.
There's a lot that have to do with the missile silos that are out here and the Air Force and military out here. There's theories that it's government. There's theories that it's Google redoing their maps. There's theories that it's Amazon.
Michelle just wishes whoever it is would speak up.
It would rest easy on us if we knew just who was doing it and that we were safe.
Now, we contacted Warren Air Force Base up in Wyoming. They say it's not their drones looking at missile silos. We also contacted local law enforcement throughout Colorado and up in Wyoming. They say they don't have any answers either. And we also contacted the FAA, who said they are investigating these sightings and that they can't comment on an ongoing investigation. In Raymer, Michael Aveta, covering Colorado First.
Let's hope they come up with something, Michael. Thank you.
Based on 2023 data, the FAA estimated the number of commercial and recreational drones operating in the United States would reach approximately 2.8 million in 2024. Significant incursions occurred over Langley Air Force Base in December 2023, prompting a response involving the U.S. government and NASA aircraft. In August 2024, sightings over Plant 42, a U.S. Air Force facility in California, led to Air Force confirmation and new FAA airspace restrictions.
The Pentagon confirms that unidentified drones did fly over Langley Air Force Base in Hampton.
Yeah, the Defense Department spokeswoman said today the drones didn't appear to have hostile intent. Mike Gooding has the latest.
Langley Air Force Base is the East Coast home to F-22 Raptors, advanced fifth-generation stealth fighter jets. The first fighter wing maintains and operates half of the F-22s in the United States Air Force's inventory. U.S. military personnel reported drones appearing in restricted airspace over Langley between December 6th and 23rd last year. Now the Defense Department confirms it.
Langley Air Force Base did experience incursions of unauthorized unmanned aerial systems last year in December 2023. The number of those UAS incursions did fluctuate on any given day, but they didn't appear to exhibit any hostile intent.
Pentagon spokeswoman Sabrina Singh was asked Tuesday why the Air Force did not shoot down the drones.
I do know that with all of these incursions, given that it's, on U.S. soil, there is another level of coordination within the interagency that needs to take place. But the commander absolutely had his or her authorities to engage any systems that are a threat to the base.
It's unclear if the drones belong to hobbyists or to a foreign government or adversary. Singh said she didn't know where they were launched from.
This is something that, I know the department continues to analyze.
Mike Gooding, 13 News Now.
Senate Armed Services Committee member Tim Kaine issued a statement to 13 News Now. Kaine said he visited Langley Air Force Base shortly after to question leadership. He went on to say, I will continue working with my colleagues to ensure our national security assets and military installations are protected.
Unidentified drones were reported over U.S. bases in the United Kingdom in November 2024, followed by sightings over Ramstein Air Base and arms factories in Germany in December 2024. Major General Patrick S. Ryder commented that while private drones periodically fly over military bases, most are not considered threats and do not affect operations.
And a series of suspicious and unusual sighting of drones near U.S. bases in Germany has put policymakers and military officials on edge. Unidentified drones have been sighted over sensitive industry locations and the U.S. air base at Ramstein in Germany in recent weeks. This as per Der Spiegel news magazine. The magazine has cited a confidential report by German security authorities. According to Der Spiegel, the report by German authorities flagged various drone sightings made in the evening hours of the 3rd and the 4th of December over the airbase. A security source told Reuters that the report on drone sightings over Ramstein was correct. The German Defense Ministry declined to comment on the report. German intelligence officers have also issued a warning that the nation is vulnerable to potential sabotage attempts due to its backing of Ukraine in its war with Russia. And recent security events at the military installations have heightened the concerns. Der Spiegel also reported unexplained drone sightings over locations belonging to German arms manufacturer Rheinmetall and a chemicals group.
The FAA reported receiving over 100 monthly drone sighting reports near airports in 2024. In a February 2025 Senate Armed Services Committee hearing, General Gregory Guillot, head of NORAD and NORTHCOM, stated that 350 drone incursions were reported over 100 U.S. military bases during 2024. He emphasized surveillance risks and advocated for expanded counter-drone authority for military installation. First reported U.S. sighting occurred at Picatinny Arsenal in Morris County, New Jersey on November 13, 2024. By November 18th, additional sightings were reported in Morris County and the neighboring Somerset County. The sightings, initially concentrating around the Raritan River corridor, soon spread across New Jersey. Reports eventually extended to New York City, Orange County, New York, Philadelphia, and various parts of eastern Pennsylvania. Related sightings also emerged in California, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Ohio, Texas, Utah, and Virginia. Sightings were reported over residential areas and near sensitive locations, including military installations, emergency communication centers, law enforcement facilities, and the Round Valley Reservoir. Drones were also reportedly observed near infrastructure such as highways, railways, power stations, transmission lines, and nuclear power plants in New Jersey and New York. Witnesses described the drones in various ways, sometimes emitting a loud hum or seen alongside fixed-wing aircraft. Some experts who reviewed footage categorized the objects as either quadcopters or fixed-wing aircraft. By Christmas Eve, reports in northern New Jersey had slowed to a trickle. However, the social media attention given to the phenomenon had all but ended by the beginning of 2025. Legislators Chris Smith and Paul Knatra reported that multiple drones followed a United States Coast Guard 47-foot motor lifeboat. Coast Guard officer Luke Pinillo stated that multiple low-altitude aircraft were observed in the vicinity of one of their vessels. White House spokesman John Kirby announced that forensic analysis concluded the reported aircraft were, quote, air traffic going into JFK International Airport and not drones at all, end quote. Smith challenged this explanation, emphasizing the experience of the officers involved. Later, Transportation Security Administration documents revealed that their investigators concluded the swarms were commercial jets executing S-shaped maneuvers while aligning for landing at JFK Airport, creating an illusion of hovering when viewed from certain perspectives. On December 9, 2024, federal officials arrested a Chinese national at San Francisco International Airport for flying a drone over Vandenberg Space Force Base. The individual was attempting to board a flight to China.
New Jersey is not alone in having to worry about drones. A Chinese national was just arrested in California for flying a drone over a Space Force base. The U.S. Attorney's Office announcing he's charged with violating national defense airspace, that he was illegally taking photos from above the base. The incident happened on the same day, November 30th, when a, quote, sensitive payload for the National Reconnaissance Office had been launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base. That launch took place at night. It was later that day when the base's drone detection system spotted the rogue drone flying up to a mile high above the base. Security personnel were dispatched. They intercepted the suspect at a public park, drone in hand, where they spoke with him, and according to a federal affidavit, he admitted to having used a hack to fly above no-fly limits. The suspect is a 39-year-old Chinese national and permanent U.S. resident. He told base security he knew it was probably, quote, not a good idea. He was arrested by federal officials on Monday at the San Francisco airport right before boarding a plane to China. The drone and his cell phone were searched, where agents found photos of the base, quote, taken from an aerial viewpoint. They also found he'd searched online for Vandenberg Space Force Base drone rules a month earlier. Joining us now, my old pal Heather Nauert, who served as State Department spokesperson during the Trump administration, also formerly a Fox News anchor. Heather, great to see you again. It's been a long time.
Great to see you, Dan. I know, too long.
All right, so how vulnerable are we to these sorts of drone threats?
We sure are. Look, we live in a free society. People can come and go as they please, pretty much. And you have something like this happen. I think the bigger issue is China and our adversaries trying to grab every opportunity for intelligence from the United States. Now, we don't know if the guy who was arrested in California is a spy or not, but we do know that China has infiltrated our country. We hear every single day about hacking attempts, whether it's on healthcare corporations or all the major telecom companies right now. So we are under threat. You also have China infiltrating governors' offices and at the state and local level as well. So China wants to get our information, wants to get our intelligence and beam it back to China. They're a very real adversary, and we need to start having a conversation in the United States about how exactly we're going to work around this.
That's what
The following day, a press release from Hill Air Force Base in Utah acknowledged recent observations of unidentified drone swarms over several U.S. military bases, confirming nearby sightings that did not affect operations. The United States Marine Corps confirmed that unidentified drones were observed over Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton beginning on December 9th and into the following week. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio experienced airspace closures in mid-December due to incursions by small unmanned aerial systems. Shortly after, police in White Settlement, Texas confirmed an investigation involving the FBI, Naval Criminal Investigative Service, and Air Force into drone incidents at Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base Fort Worth and a nearby National Guard armory. On November 26, reports of drone activity near Raritan Valley Community College in New Jersey prevented a medical evacuation helicopter from transporting a car crash victim. Security Supervisor Brian Surge commented, saying, "We never found out what the actual drones were." However, documents later released by the TSA revealed that flight logs indicated 3 commercial aircraft approaching Solberg Airport had been misidentified as drones. The TSA's analysis concluded that the aircraft seemed to hover because they were flying directly towards the ground observers. A drone was reported spraying gray mist over Clinton, New Jersey on December 12th. According to TSA documents released in 2025, investigators identified this with high confidence as a Beechcraft Baron 58 propeller plane experiencing turbulence, which created wingtip vortices that formed condensation clouds. United States Senator Andy Kim reported several different drones near the Round Valley Reservoir during a December 12th patrol with Clinton Township Police. He later acknowledged that, quote, most of the possible drone sightings that were pointed out to me were almost certainly planes, end quote. On December 13th, former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan posted a video on X showing what he believed to be numerous large drones over his Davidsonville, Maryland residence. However, several individuals, including journalist Stephen Greenstreet, meteorologist Matthew Capucci, and University of Maryland Observatory Director Elizabeth Warner, identified the objects on the video as the constellation Orion.
That's really convincing. Yeah, they are.
Greenstreet also noted that flight data indicated the presence of 3 aircraft in the vicinity at the time. Subsequently, a community note was added to Hoban's post stating that no unusual objects were visible in his video. Late-night comedian Stephen Colbert also referenced the incident. Several drones were reported flying near civilian infrastructure in December 2024. One sighting near the Salem nuclear power plant in New Jersey was later identified by Transportation Security Administration investigators as coinciding with the flight paths of a UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter, a Cessna C-150, and commercial flights from Philadelphia. New York City's Staten Island Borough President Vito Fossella said on December 13th that there were sightings over critical infrastructure, such as Port Liberty, New York, the Goethals Bridge, the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, and Fort Wadsworth. On the same day, Stewart International Airport in Orange County, New York, shut down for an hour due to drone activity, an event subsequently confirmed by Governor Hochul. In Massachusetts, Boston police identified 3 residents operating drones in restricted airspace near Logan International Airport. Police located 2 of the men on Long Island and arrested them.
Welcome back into Live Now from Fox as we continue to track all of the latest. I want to bring you some breaking news in regards to some of these mysterious drone sightings that we have been seeing across the country. Taking a look here at a tweet from the Boston Police Department, they say this: 2 suspects arrested following hazardous drone operation in Long Island. Now, we do have a part of the statement here from the Boston Police Department as we just got this news just a little while ago. And it says this: on December 14th, 2024, at approximately 10:22 p.m., officers from the Boston Police Harbor Patrol Unit arrested 2 individuals identified as 42-year-old Robert Duffy of Charlestown and 32-year-old Jeremy Folkick of Bridgewater, Massachusetts. The arrests were made on Long Island, part of the Boston Harbor Islands, following a hazardous drone operation near Logan Airport's airspace. Both suspects face charges of trespassing with additional fines or charges potentially forthcoming. Now, that is just a part of the statement and the press release that was just given out by the Boston Police Department. A Live Now look over at Boston. There you can see the downtown of the city, as I want to read a little bit more from what we know with this press release. So Boston Police continues to say the incident began early that evening at 4:30 p.m. when a Boston police officer specializing in real-time crime surveillance detected an unmanned aircraft system operating dangerously close to Logan International Airport. Leveraging advanced UAS monitoring technology, the officer identified the drone's location, altitude, flight history, and the operator's position on Long Island. Recognizing the serious risks posed by the drone's proximity to Logan's airspace, additional resources were mobilized. The Boston Police Department coordinated with Homeland Security, the Massachusetts State Police, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, the Federal Communications Commission, and Logan Airport Air Traffic Control to address the situation. Members of the Boston Police Harbor Patrol Unit were dispatched to Long Island and located 3 individuals inside the decommissioned Long Island Health Campus. Upon attempting to make contact, the suspects fled on foot. 2 of the 3 individuals were apprehended and identified as Duffy and Folkick. During the investigation, a drone was discovered inside a backpack carried by Duffy. The 2 suspects were transported to District A1 for booking. A continued search for the 3rd suspect, believed to have fled the island in a small vessel, was conducted by officers and the Massachusetts State Police. Duffy and Folkick are scheduled to be arraigned in Dorchester District Court on charges of trespassing. Further charges may be filed pending the outcome of the ongoing investigation. The Boston Police Department reminds recreational drone operators of the importance of adhering to Federal Aviation Administration safety guidelines. Operators are prohibited from flying drones over people or vehicles and must be aware of airspace restrictions. Even small drones pose significant risks, including the potential for catastrophic damage to airplanes and helicopters. Near collisions can cause pilots to veer off course, putting lives and property at risk. And that was the complete press release that we just received from the Boston Police Department detailing the arrest of 2 suspects in hazardous drone operation.
Drone activity was reportedly observed by law enforcement on November 18, 2024, in New Jersey. Almost a month later in Pequannock Township, a drone crashed, which was initially reported as military grade. A police investigation determined it was a toy drone, with officials suggesting it was one of multiple copycat incidents in the area.
A major response from authorities that could be related to an incident involving a drone. It is happening in Hillsborough, New Jersey. Fox 5's Stephanie Bertini is live from that scene. Stephanie, obviously so much frustration about what is even happening in the skies above us, so this might be a big answer.
Yeah, Bianca, I talked to several people who tell us they heard a drone crash somewhere behind where I'm standing. We're working to get that information confirmed with officials. Our chopper has been flying over the area this morning. Here's some video. We're showing you that view from above. We're in a shopping plaza in Hillsborough, just off Route 206. First responders have been here all morning, including Hillsborough police, a lot of onlookers. I talked to one woman who says her concerns are growing, calling all the recent drone activity very bizarre. She says she heard the drone crash happened overnight here, but she says that she's seen several, what she believes are drones anyway, flying around her home. She says she lives not too far from where we're live right now. Now, we've reported on these drone concerns in New Jersey. Some experts have said the sightings could very well be lawfully manned aircrafts. Today, we're hearing from officials on Staten Island about the same topic. Take a listen.
You know, there's a saying that we had after 9/11, if you see something, say something. I think that's become, if you see something, don't worry about it, because we saw it too. And the people of Staten Island deserve answers. The people of this city and state and region deserve answers of what the heck is going on.
So we've heard from the FBI, and the FBI says there's no reason to believe that these recent possible drone sightings pose a national security threat. Now, in terms of what we're getting from local officials, we're being told we're going to get an update this afternoon at some point, Bianca, in terms of what they've been looking at here. Back to you inside.
Yeah, it's so interesting because they say it poses no threat, but they can't tell you what it is. So many questions surrounding this, Stephanie.
Questions.
Yeah, we'll stay on top.
The FBI led an interagency investigation into the drone sightings involving various federal and state agencies. Federal investigators did not identify any suspects or recover any drones, and by mid-December 2024, they had determined that most sightings had mundane explanations. State and local investigations into the drone reports came to similar conclusions. The FBI initiated its investigation on December 3, 2024, by requesting that the public report any sightings of suspected drones near the Raritan River in New Jersey. A spokesman told Congress on December 10th that despite collecting over 3,000 reports from the public via a tip line, investigators had not determined a full explanation.
Involving tonight, the FBI looking for info about possible drone sightings in New Jersey.
And Fox 5's Sharon Crowley is in the newsroom with more on what people are seeing and why the FBI now getting involved in this one. Sharon.
Yeah, what we've been hearing is really incredible. It's not only the FBI, but New Jersey State Police and the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security are asking for your help. If you see drones in the skies above your house or your head, they want to know what's going on. The feds want the public to report that information because they've had a number of recent sightings of possible drones flying along the Raritan River. Now, take a look at this. Mike Walsh took this video last week in Chester, New Jersey. He says that he started to notice multiple drones in the sky at night starting last month, and he did call and alert police of the activity. He says he has continued to see drones like these as large as the size of a car. You heard me right, the size of a car, all happening in the sky over his home in Randolph.
They're big. Like I saw a couple last night, which were very large, and I checked like a flight tracker app and there's no planes in the area. If you see these things go by and, they're big.
Well, he's not the only one. Many people in New Jersey sending us their videos reporting seeing drones like these overhead. This one in the area near the Raritan River, and one woman taking other pictures of drones in Mendham Township Saturday evening about 6 o'clock. Now, the FAA has issued 2 temporary flight restrictions prohibiting drone flights over the Picatinny Arsenal military base and Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. Witnesses also telling the FBI that they've been seeing cluster of what look like drones, a whole bunch of them, and possibly a fixed-wing aircraft. So it's a mystery, and the feds want some more information, so they're urging the public to call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI, or you can submit a tip online at tipsfbi.gov. And, Steve, this is a story we'll be following. We'll have an update for you coming up at 6 tonight.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild video for sure. All right.
It is.
Yeah. Thanks, Sharon.
White House spokesman John Kirby stated on December 12th that none of the visual sightings could be verified and that many reports were actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. He emphasized that there was no evidence suggesting these sightings pose a security threat or originate from foreign sources. Kirby noted that an analysis of photos, videos, and electronic detection data had not revealed any unauthorized drones. Despite this, Kirby confirmed that authorities would continue to investigate and urge Congress to pass legislation for more effective drone management. New Jersey Assemblyman Paul Kenitra and Greg Meyer said that Kirby's statements seemed to contradict the briefing that happened a day prior. Also that day, the Department of Homeland Security issued a statement echoing Kirby's remarks. The department acknowledged the general threat posed by drones and highlighted a lack of sufficient authorities to combat them. The statement also mentioned previous instances where reported drones were cases of mistaken identity. In an ABC News interview on December 15th, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas confirmed drone sightings. He stated that federal resources, including personnel and technology, had been deployed to assist the New Jersey State Police in addressing these sightings. On December 16th, a joint statement was issued by the DHS, FBI, FAA, and DOD. The agencies reported that their investigation, which reviewed over 5,000 reported sightings, failed to identify anything anomalous. They concluded that most sightings had routine explanations such as commercial or hobbyist drones, law enforcement drones, or conventional aircraft, and therefore did not present a national security or public safety risk. The statement noted that sightings over restricted military airspace were not new and that the DoD takes unauthorized access over its airspace seriously. TSA documents revealed that by December 17, 2024, the day before FAA flight restrictions were imposed, the agency had already internally debunked several high-profile drone incidents as misidentified conventional aircraft or atmospheric phenomena. Findings were not shared publicly at the time and were only released later through a Freedom of Information Act request. Reason magazine suggested that withholding this evidence prolonged public concern while helping justify calls for expanded counter-drone governmental powers. On January 28, 2025, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt conveyed an update from President Trump regarding the drone sightings. She explained that following an investigation, it was determined that the aircraft were primarily FAA-authorized research drones and those operated by hobbyists and private individuals. Leavitt noted that public curiosity contributed to the increase in sightings and affirmed that the drones did not represent a threat. In early December, law enforcement officials in New Jersey raised concerns regarding drones. On December 13th, Bridgewater Police Chief John Mitzak stated that many of the reports received involved misidentification of manned aircraft. On December 17th, Governor Phil Murphy reported that deployed drone detecting devices had found little to no evidence of threats. The Connecticut State Police announced on December 13th the deployment of drone detection systems in response to sightings, specifically in Fairfield County. On December 16th, state police reported that most sightings appeared to be manned aircraft or legal private sector drones. Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont noted that one sighted drone bearing the word Frontier on the back was likely a Frontier Airlines aircraft. On the weekend of December 14th and 15th alone, the New York City Police Department received about 120 calls reporting drones, more than all of November. Upon investigation, many of these reports were found to be misidentifications of manned aircraft, meteor showers, or Venus. In some instances, hobbyist drones flown in response to rumors of anomalous drones led to further reports of unusual activity. In response to these events, New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced on December 15th that the federal government would provide New York with a drone detection system. U.S. Senator from New York Chuck Schumer also requested a similar system to be sent to New Jersey. On December 14th, Governors Maura Healey of Massachusetts and Glenn Youngkin of Virginia confirmed state investigations into the increasing sightings, with the latter citing concerns over national security and critical infrastructure. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro ordered the Pennsylvania State Police to investigate sightings and confirmed law enforcement would use helicopters to pursue and determine where the drones originate from and their purpose. The White House confirmed that President Biden was aware of the situation on December 10, 2024. The next day, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas briefed New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy and the state's congressional delegation on the sightings. In his first comments on December 18th, President Biden said there was no sign of danger or anything suspicious happening, though officials continue tracking the situation amid heavy authorized drone activity in the area.
Welcome back to CBS News 24/7. You see them there in the sky yet again. We follow those continued reports of unmanned aircraft sightings all across the eastern part of the United States. Now, President Joe Biden gave his first public remarks on the matter, saying there's really nothing alarming about this. Listen.
Nothing nefarious, apparently, but they're checking it all out. I think it's just one. There's a lot of drones authorized up there. I think one started and they all got it. Everybody wanted to get in the deal. But we're following it closely. So far, no sense of a danger.
So let's bring in CBS News national investigative correspondent Tom Hansen. All right, welcome, friend. President-elect Donald Trump, on the other hand, says the military knows what the drones are. Mr. Biden, though, doesn't seem to have that ominous tone. So how do we square that, and what do you know today?
Yeah, well, I think both of those things can be true. I think both sides are saying that the military does, in fact, have an idea or, the semblance of an idea of where these drones are coming from. We had a joint statement that came out from the FAA, the FBI, the DHS, the Pentagon, saying that a lot of these sightings are actually manned aircrafts or other things that are floating in the sky that are perfectly non-threatening and perfectly mundane. They said there was nothing anomalous coming out of their reports. Now, we do know that they have deployed drone busters technology. That's the sophisticated software that they were launching to assist New York and New Jersey in investigating this. Also, trained personnel who can spot drones and analyze their movements and things like that. But still, all of that coming out has not been satisfactory for so many people in the public and a lot of municipal law enforcement out there who are still in the gray territory when it comes to the facts on this matter. Some of the facts that we do know read 1 million registered drones currently in possession for some civilians, some commercial. 400,000 of those are commercial. Another 400,000 are recreational. So there are a lot of things hovering around in the sky. And I can tell you from going out with law enforcement myself, one law enforcement in Seaside Heights, New Jersey, they were launching drones up into the sky themselves to see if they could capture any clear images of these mysterious objects floating in the sky. It's very difficult to distinguish what's a plane, what's a star, what could be a drone. A lot of these flight paths are along these heavily traveled air routes. So you're seeing a lot of different objects in the sky at any given time. And if it's at night, everyone's vision is not as good at night. So there's a lot that can be explained away, but still a lot of answers. Lawmakers in a closed door meeting yesterday were briefed, and they came away after about 90 minutes saying, sure, we were told that these things are not posing a threat to the communities, but show us the data. So a lot of calls from Washington and throughout the Northeast for more raw data to really answer and, put some of these concerns to bed. Really?
Yeah, and speaking of the raw data, I'm just astounded by the numbers that you report, the numbers of drones that are in the skies. So many out there, and it makes you wonder if we aren't teeing up a more regulatory type conversation in the months and years ahead. So the FBI, they say they received more than 5,000 tips in just the last week about those drone sightings in New Jersey and many other states. So how many of those tips actually turn into leads that police can chase?
Yeah, well, of those tips, I can tell you the number of leads is significantly smaller. The White House coming out saying that there were roughly 100 leads that they were following. And you mentioned those 5,000 tips. That's because a lot of those tips, they may be reporting the same thing. So we have to take that into consideration when we're reporting out just how many reports are coming out of these mysterious objects in the sky. It could be one hovering drone and about 100 phone calls to local law enforcement. Right. So, there is something to be said for the fact that, a lot of people are starting to look up. There could be a little bit of hysteria there. There could be a little bit of paranoia that compels people to call and report perfectly normal things like a commercial plane flying overhead that, is just off in the distance, looking like a flickering light hovering about. So, those are the things that law enforcement is sifting through. We went along with one other police force, or a sheriff's department, I should say, who was putting together a heat map. And one of the things that they made very clear was in Monmouth County, which is where we were, we saw that there was a lot of areas of the county that were lighting up from these reports. But the sheriff told us that, that really didn't yield much in the form of tangible leads tracking true mysterious drones. A lot of those were manned aircrafts. They were helicopters. Some even reporting from distant stars that, were flickering off in the distance. So, it really still is anybody's guess. But once again, a lot of people are still looking for more concrete evidence that this is not a legitimate concern or some kind of, foreign invasion or an alien invasion. The theories out there circulating on social media range all across the board when it comes to what these mysterious drones could be. But one thing that everyone is circling back to, show us the data.
Show us the data. And you know what? All of these reports of drone sightings, and Tom Hansen, I'm yet to hear of one delivering a pizza. Maybe you'll have that next time I talk to you, my friend. You have a great day. Thank you so much. It's always great to know that you're down there with law enforcement in communities where it matters. Tom Hansen, thank you.
The Federal Aviation Administration banned the use of drones in multiple areas in New Jersey and New York State. On November 22nd, they issued a 2-week flight restriction over Trump's Bedminster Golf Club, followed days later by a month-long restriction over Picatinny Arsenal. On December 18th, the FAA issued a 1-month ban on drone operations near 22 cities in New Jersey, including Camden, Elizabeth, and Jersey City. The next day, they issued a ban on drone flights over parts of New York State, including Brooklyn, Queens, and communities in Long Island. The FAA said the restrictions were due to special security reasons and were requested by other federal authorities. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said that the restricted areas include critical infrastructure sites and that the action was purely precautionary. On December 30th, 2024, the FAA implemented several new drone restrictions in various parts of New Jersey, all of which were set to last until January 18th, 2025. The new restrictions were imposed across areas in Gloucester County, Hudson County, Middlesex County, Monmouth County, and Union County. On December 10th, New Jersey State Senator John Bramnick suggested a limited state of emergency and a temporary ban on drone use until the situation was resolved. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy wrote to President Biden on December 13th, expressing growing concern about the drone reports. He requested improved coordination between agencies and additional congressional authorization for state and local law enforcement to counter drone activities. United States Senators Chuck Schumer, Kirsten Gillibrand, Cory Booker, and Andy Kim sent a letter to the FBI, DHS, and FAA on December 12th requesting briefings regarding their efforts to address the situation. On December 15th, Senator Schumer requested that the Department of Homeland Security deploy specialized drone detection systems to New York and New Jersey. Senator Amy Klobuchar made remarks on December 15th, calling for more transparency at a Senate briefing on the sightings. Senator Richard Blumenthal suggested using electronic jamming to take down the drones. President-elect Donald Trump suggested on December 13th that the U.S. military should shoot down unidentified drones. Days later, Trump said that the government knows what is happening.
Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will
Want to
you
know
shoot
the
them
truth.
down?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
The Late Show host Stephen Colbert told several jokes about the drone sightings during his December 16, 2024 monologue on the program. Comedian Bowen Yang performed a skit during the December 21st episode of Saturday Night Live in which he portrayed an anthropomorphic drone of the type purportedly seen in New Jersey. A poll by CBS News posted on December 22nd showed that 78% of Americans believed the U.S. government was withholding information about the drone sightings from the public. In January, President-elect Trump promised to release a report on the drone sightings on his first day in office. According to Popular Mechanics, the most likely reasons for the drone sightings were that people were noticing drones that have always been around, or natural and human-made phenomena were being misidentified as drones. Their least likely explanation was that the drones had an extraterrestrial origin. Popular Mechanics said that the strongest explanation for the sightings was people noticing ordinary drones, which have been around for years. In January 2025, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the drones were authorized by the FAA. Brandon Valeriano, a professor at Seton Hall University specializing in cybersecurity, said the sightings were probably connected to hobbyist drone use and that some members of the public had sought wild explanations for the things they can't understand. The White House confirmed that over 1 million drones were registered with the FAA as of 2024, with thousands of commercial, hobbyist, and law enforcement drones that are lawfully in the sky on any given day. Congressman Jeff Van Drew claimed on December 11, 2024, that he had information from very high sources indicating that Iran launched a mothership that contains these drones. Later that day, the Pentagon refuted his statements, stating there were no Iranian vessels off the U.S. coast and no proof the drones originated from foreign adversaries. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy also cast doubt on Van Drew's assertions, questioning Iran's capability for such a mission. Van Drew later suggested the drones might be Chinese. Congressman Michael McCaul, chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, said on December 17th that he believes some of the unidentified aircraft were spy drones from China, based on reports that the Chinese government owns farmland in the vicinity of military bases throughout the U.S. Federal investigators repeatedly rejected the notion that foreign countries were the source of the sightings. Former U.S. Air Force General James Posh was skeptical of the foreign adversary explanation because the aircraft used FAA-compliant lighting. On January 1, 2025, Matthew Livelsberger, a U.S. Army Special Forces soldier and drone warfare specialist, committed sewer slide and a car bombing in Las Vegas. Livelsberger claimed that the drone sightings were due to the use of anti-gravity propulsion systems by the U.S. and China. Drone expert William Alston analyzed imagery and reports, concluding that many large drones were likely misidentified manned aircraft, cell tower lights, or smaller drones. By December 15th, after reviewing extensive video evidence, Alston stated his belief that 100% of them were either misidentified airplanes or small drones whose use had increased due to media coverage. He suggested the parallax effect as a possible cause for some misidentifications. Jamie Jacob, a professor in aerospace engineering at Oklahoma State University, attributed the sightings to misidentification, largely driven by social media and the inability to determine what's real and what's not. Jacob also noted that drone sightings near military facilities were probably mostly careless actors rather than those trying to pose a legitimate threat. B.J. Kumar, dean of Penn Engineering, said that most of the images he saw in relation to the sightings were of legally operating aircraft, and that popular fear about drones was due to their association with science fiction-like scenarios where machines have autonomy. Similarly, Missy Cummings, a professor of engineering at George Mason University and drone researcher, said that people were probably seeing stars, aircraft, or reflections. She noted that of all of those options, drone is the least likely because it's actually pretty hard to pick these out of the sky. Amy Gallagher, a planetarium director, suggested autokinesis as a possible explanation for some sightings. She described this phenomenon as an illusion of motion created when a person's eye muscles attempt to focus while staring at a celestial object. skeptic Mick West proposed that many sightings were likely misidentifications and that videos purportedly showing unusual objects could be explained by the limitations of smartphone cameras. Former United States Representative Adam Kinzinger stated on CNN on December 15th that after reviewing many videos of alleged drone sightings, he concluded they were literally all airplanes. He suggested that public concern was arising from the misidentification of high-altitude jets. Similarly, Tom Adams, a counter-drone defense consultant and former FBI agent, blamed hysteria for manned aircraft being mistaken for drones. According to Adams, it was very common for objects in the night sky, such as manned aircraft, planets, and even satellites or the International Space Station, to be mistaken for a drone at night. On December 16th, the FBI's Newark office urged New Jersey residents against targeting suspected drones with lasers. The office cited increased laser strikes on pilots and warned that firing weapons pose possibly deadly consequences for civil aviation. Several widely circulated social media images claiming to show drone sightings were identified as mislabeled older videos, doctored film, or AI-generated video. Popular Science reported that TikTok hosted some of the most blatant and widely seen fake videos related to these purported sightings. A video on some internet threads claiming to show numerous drones over a U.S. city was found to be 2-year-old footage from China, depicting government UAVs dispersing disinfectant during the pandemic. Another video on Instagram, which ostensibly showed gunfire towards a drone, was later revealed by its creator to have been edited with sound and visual effects. A social media post by Doug Mastriano included an image purported to be a crashed drone, which was later identified as a replica of a TIE fighter from the Star Wars franchise. In other instances, videos labeled as unidentified drones were actually recordings of drone light shows, some of which were several years old. In a December 17th television interview, the mayor of Belleville, New Jersey, suggested that drones might be government-operated UAVs. He speculated they could be searching for something, possibly radioactive material, and noted that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission had recently reported a radioactive medical device as missing. Following this, Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis and other officials from Staten Island, New York, sent a letter to the Department of Homeland Security. The letter inquired about the missing device and the measures DHS was taking to address the situation and protect public safety.
There is growing concern and a demand for answers about the mysterious drones hovering over the tri-state area. In New Jersey, the flying objects have been spotted over residential neighborhoods, restricted sites, even near President-elect Donald Trump's home and critical infrastructure.
Belleville Mayor Michael Mellum says the drone sightings are creating anxiety in his town, and he's looking for answers. And he joins us this morning right here on Good Day New York. Thank you for joining us, Mayor. You know, President-elect Trump says that the Biden administration knows what's going on. Our government knows what's going on. You're the mayor of of Bellevue. What do you know?
We know very little. About 6 days ago, there was an unprecedented briefing with every single mayor in the state of New Jersey, along with every member of our state legislature. We learned exactly at that time what the state knows, which was very little. Since then, information has not been forthcoming. And it's this lack of transparency, in my opinion, that's doing nothing but fueling conspiracy theories online.
Do you have any idea what it could be? Or which side it could be, where it's coming from?
Yeah, I can tell you what it's not. We know for a fact it's not little green men. And more than likely, it's not a foreign adversary, because they would be able to figure out how to turn off the blinking lights. These drones are huge. We had a mayor yesterday on the call with the White House telling them that he had 6-foot drones hovering over his house. Yet they continue to tell us we don't know what we're talking about. It's misidentification. Certainly, there's some misidentification probably going on, but I could assure you that we are seeing drones in New Jersey all over the place.
All right, so Bethany Frankel, I know she's not like, the New York Times, but she says that she has like some kind of contact at the Pentagon and that it has something to do with radioactive material in New Jersey. What are you hearing?
So here's what I know. I know that we were told by our state police that we have assets over our critical infrastructure. Now, depending on your point of view, that's either concerning or comforting. I think it's comforting because it's probably us listening and watching. We also know that we have drones that are flying in a grid-like pattern. In my opinion, they're looking for something. What might they be looking for? Well, potentially, we're aware of a threat that came in through Port Newark. Maybe that's radioactive material. There was and there is an alert that's out right now that radioactive material in New Jersey has gone missing on December 2nd. It was a shipment. It arrived at its destination. The container was damaged and was empty. So
Okay,
potentially
wait,
we're looking
stop
for
right
that.
there, Mayor, because that's very important information. And that came from a credible source.
That came from the U.S. government.
And so it's missing?
Missing.
And they think it's in New Jersey, or it could be anywhere?
It was lost in New Jersey in transit. And again, this is just an example of what I think that we're sniffing for. I think we do have the assets that can go up and fly around and sniff things, which is why we're not seeing the uptick we used to see in Belleville anymore. It's kind of moving, but we're seeing alerts that it's happening now in Pennsylvania.
And that's right about the time that the drone sightings began, right?
Yeah, drone sightings began about 4 weeks ago.
Okay, so when you take a look at this, if this information is indeed credible, why wouldn't the government say, it's us?
That's the crazy part about this. We've gotten very little information. Even yesterday on that call with the White House, literally mayors were told, you guys are seeing things. There's no credibility to this. We have one mayor, like I said, had drones over his house. I mean, we're no longer going to stand for not hearing the truth. I mean, our state government is failing us. They're not getting the answers from the federal government. And even though yesterday they told us that there's nothing to see here, today there's a top secret briefing going on in Congress. Well, what are they being told that we weren't told yesterday?
Real quick, did you know yesterday when you were on that call about this missing radioactive activity or merchandise, or did you know that this morning after the call?
I was made aware of it yesterday morning. I did raise my hand. We weren't allowed to speak. I did raise my hand, was not called on to get that question answered.
So apparently it is concerning. Even the president-elect, who I'm sure gets some kind of briefings on things, he says he's not going to his home in Bedminster, right?
Yeah, I listened to him yesterday. He no doubt gets the same exact briefings that President Biden gets. He says our government knows. He says our president knows. And he also ended with saying, I'm not going to be in New Jersey this weekend.
So what do you want to know? What do you want the government to tell you and the general public?
I want them to be clear with us. I want transparency. I want them to say these are our assets. There's no need to concern about what's flying. The question should no longer be who's flying these drones or who owns them. It should be what they're looking for. Tell us they're ours. Tell us that they're protecting us, and tell us what the threat is.
Okay, we're coming up on the holidays. Is everybody going to be safe?
I hope so.
What do you want people to do if they see them?
That's a great question. So we've been told that pilots out of Newark Airport are getting hit with lasers. You cannot take the law in your own hands. We do not want you shooting at them. It is a federal offense to shoot on an aircraft. Drones are considered aircraft. And please do not try and hit them with lasers. Our pilots are being distracted.
So you think they're American, they're our government, and they're looking for something that went missing that could be very dangerous?
Absolutely.
All right, Mayor, you got to keep us in the loop here.
Absolutely.
Because we haven't heard any of this stuff in New York.
Absolutely.
This is good, credible
good information.
stuff. It's
Yes.
good, credible information.
And it's all verified and comes based, everything that I based my opinions on come from my briefings that I've gotten.
Your briefings by the government. Thank you so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for keeping us informed and giving us that information.
Thank you.
All right.
On December 18th, a NASA Cancer Center spokesman stated that a missing component contained an insignificant amount of germanium-68 that was depleted before shipment and had since been recovered. A National Nuclear Security Administration spokesperson said that their nuclear emergency support team does not utilize drones for radiological detection and is not conducting aerial operations in the region. Journalists, psychologists, and neurologists have described the wave of drone reports as mass panic or mass delusion, with science writer Greg Redfern comparing it to a UFO flap. Mass panic, also termed mass or social delusion, is a collective societal behavior resulting from the spread of exaggerated beliefs. While sometimes equated with mass hysteria, the latter term specifically denotes a medical condition. Neurologist William J. Bernstein suggested the phenomenon could be a case of mass delusion, a view echoed by psychologist Gary Small, who described it as mass panic or a shared delusion. Max Boot proposed that mass hysteria, which he identified as a recurring feature of American life, could be a partial explanation for the sightings. Similarly, journalist Tyler Rogaway suggested mass hysteria along with misidentified aircraft as potential causes. Space photographer Andrew McCarthy asserted that all the videos he reviewed showed only ordinary helicopters or planes. He proposed that the sightings were a social contagion where people were simply noticing and misinterpreting regular air traffic. An astronomy professor suggested that the widespread sightings might have stemmed from confirmation bias, leading the public to misinterpret mundane phenomena. Sociologist Robert Bartholomew drew historical parallels between the 2024 sightings and similar episodes during World War I, when unexplained lights over New Jersey and Delaware were were blamed on German espionage, he attributed the phenomenon to geopolitical tensions, public distrust of government, and fear of foreigners. According to Bartholomew, media coverage prompted people to pay closer attention to the sky, noticing conventional air traffic they would normally ignore. He characterized the phenomenon as reflecting two recent moral panics in America: the fear of new technologies coupled with the fear of foreigners. Science writer Michael Shermer described the sightings as an example of patternicity, the tendency to see meaningful patterns in both meaningful and meaningless noise, noting that low-quality nighttime images left room for imaginative interpretation.
It's a story that dominated the headlines: mysterious drone sightings over the skies of New Jersey. The sightings then seemed to vanish just as quickly as they started.
All right, now the White House says they have an explanation for it all, and as Fox 5's Linda Schmidt shows us, it's a simple one.
During the drone panic in New Jersey in November and December, President Trump criticized the Biden administration for keeping the public in suspense about where the drones were coming from. Today, Trump's White House press secretary saying the mystery is solved.
The drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons.
The fact that they say, research, and other things. Well, what are those other things? Those are the questions that people have. We still have no answers.
The mayor of Belleville, New Jersey, disappointed in the latest attempt by the White House to explain the presence of the drones. At one point, the FAA even imposed a temporary ban.
The FAA 3 weeks ago was telling us when they did the ban that they have the authorization to shoot down and use deadly force. Nowhere did they say, oh, by the way, it might be us, or by the way, we do know.
Just come clean with folks. What's going on here?
New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer says now he has even more questions.
I'm writing to the FAA tonight to ask them, what do they mean by research and study?
Both the Biden and Trump administrations have reported that some of the drones were being flown as a hobby by private drone owners, and there was no threat from an enemy. Brian Boyd has more than 30 years of experience in intelligence and counterterrorism.
In a peacetime in our country, the real question is, what kind of research and for who?
Linda Schmidt, Fox 5 News.
I remember hearing about a lot of these drone sightings as they were being reported, but I never looked into them until now. It's certainly one of the strangest mysteries I've recently looked into. What do you think the sightings were? Military drones, adversarial military drones, planes, aliens, civilian-owned drones, or something else? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and as usual, if you're a fan of urban legends, folklore, unsolved mysteries, cold cases, and all things mysterious, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel.